After our Christmas dinner, I saw that my card had been charged for all the gifts. Fernando, my father, said, "We took a vote. You don't have kids, so you should pay for those who do." Trembling, I pulled out my phone and said, "Then you're going to love what comes next." He laughed. The next day, my phone exploded 53 missed calls, cousins yelling, Rosa, my mother, pleading, and Fernando begging me to stop it. But it was too late. "No way," I said, my hand frozen in midair, holding a fork. I'd checked my phone under the table. At first, I thought it was a mistake. 3,642 euros charged to my credit card that morning, but then I saw the breakdown. Department stores, toy stores, online shops. All the gifts, every single one. Who did this? I asked quietly, my tone cutting through the wrapping paper noise and the half-volume carols from the speaker. Fernando looked up from his wine glass, far too calmly, as if I'd asked if the turkey was dry. "We voted," he said, his face blank. "You don't have kids, so you should pay for those who do." I blinked. "And that seemed logical to you?" "Well," he continued, as if explaining the weather, "you don't have kids. We do. So, it seemed fair to us that you cover the gifts this year, for the little ones." I stared at him. Then I looked at Rosa, who lowered her gaze to her plate. Valeria, my sister, continued drinking her wine while her twins opened Lego boxes I'd apparently paid for. My cousin Nicholas gave me a shamefaced look, like he knew it was wrong, but wasn't going to say anything. "You used my card without asking me. We decided you should pay, just because I'm single?" "You always say you don't mind helping," Rosa muttered. "Helping," I repeated, almost laughing. "Helping is offering." This was a hallway conspiracy. "Don't be dramatic," Fernando said, shrugging. "It's just money. You have plenty." My heart was pounding so hard I could barely hear his words over the pulse in my ears. I looked around the table. 12 people, half of whom hadn't spoken to me all year except to ask for a favor or a loan. And now they'd silently agreed that I would finance their holidays as if it were a prize for not having children. "You're incredible," I said, standing up. "Sit down," snapped one of my cousins. "Don't ruin the mood. The kids are having a good time." "Oh, don't worry," I said, pulling my phone out of my pocket. "I'm not going to ruin the mood. I'm going to end the show." "What's that supposed to mean?" Fernando asked, amused. I looked him in the eye. "It means you're going to love what comes next." He laughed. He actually laughed, as if he thought I was bluffing, as if he thought I didn't have the guts to do what I should have done years ago. But the next day he wasn't laughing. Because the next day my phone exploded. 53 missed calls, cousins screaming, Rosa pleading, Fernando literally begging me to stop it. But it was too late because I had already pressed send and there was no going back. You don't wake up one day and realize your family sees you as a wallet. No, it happens gradually. Silently, like a leak under the floor. You only notice the rot when everything collapses. It started years ago, after college. I got a job in tech. Nothing spectacular, just steady employment, health insurance, and a paycheck that didn't bounce. Valeria, my sister, got pregnant at 23 and moved back in with our parents. My cousin Enrique dropped out of grad school and started finding himself for 7 years straight. Fernando and Rosa said everyone was going through a rough patch, and I was the one who had it all together. That's what they always told me. "You're doing well, you don't need much," Rosa would repeat with a soft, almost condescending smile. "He's lucky. Should you share that luck?" my aunt once said, while accepting a rent check I'd given her for her son. At first, it was small. School supplies for the kids, gas money for interviews, chipping in on group birthday gifts I'd never approved. But then it became constant. When my brother Alvaro lost his job, I paid his rent for 6 months. When my cousin Camila wanted to launch her small business, I covered her storefront expenses and bought her entire first batch of inventory. She sold 2 products and never mentioned it again. When Uncle Manuel had a health scare and didn't have insurance, who paid the bill? Yep, me. I didn't complain, at least not at first. I kept telling myself, this is what family does. But here's the truth. Family doesn't hand you the knife and then thank you for bleeding out. They squeezed me dry, and I let them. The worst part? They acted like they were doing me a favor. This way you can feel good about helping. Your name is on the group card. That's special. Don't be so uptight. We're family. No one said thank you, not once. And it wasn't just the money. It was the time, the energy, the attention, the emotional wear and tear. I was the default babysitter, the emergency contact, the guy everyone turned to when someone needed bailing out. One Christmas Eve, I had the flu. I texted Rosa to say I couldn't come. She replied, okay, but you can still send the presents. The kids are expecting them. I remember sitting on the bathroom floor, wrapped in a blanket, dizzy with fever, thinking, why do they only remember I exist when there's a bill to pay? But the moment it all clicked into place, the instant that triggered the chain reaction, was 3 months before that Christmas dinner. I took my niece to a bookstore and let her pick out anything she wanted. 150 euros later, she had art supplies, hardcover books, and a giant sloth plushie she named Sloth. She was happy, and so was I, until I dropped her off at home. Where did Sloth come from? Valeria asked. I smiled. I let her choose it today. Valeria frowned. You're spoiling her. You think you're the fun uncle just because you have money. I blinked. What? The truth, she spat. You should spend less on toys and more on a personality. It hit me so hard I almost laughed. I'd spent the entire weekend with her daughter, time I could have spent resting, dating, living. And instead of a thank you, I got mockery, as if helping made me pathetic. That's when the mask slipped. Not hers, mine. I saw them for what they were, takers disguised as loved ones, experts in guilt. They never respected me, barely liked me. I wasn't family. I was a funding source. And then came December. Christmas plans started circulating the family group chat in mid-November. Of course, I was expected to organize everything again. To buy gifts for all the kids again. To be Santa Claus with a credit limit again. This time I was ready to say no. I swear I was. But then Fernando texted me personally. You're so good at this stuff. Why don't you handle all the gifts again? We'll settle up later. They never settled up last year or the year before. So I replied, short and cold, only if we agree beforehand who's paying. He left me on read and didn't respond for 3 weeks. I thought maybe they'd gotten the message. I was wrong. Because they used my backup card. A card I'd given Rosa years ago, just in case. She still had the number and had apparently shared it, because the statement showed purchases at 5 different stores, none of them near her. She didn't buy anything. They bought everything. And when I brought it up at dinner, they laughed. Laughed. Fernando's exact words, we took a vote. You don't have kids, so you should pay for those who do. As if it was fair. As if it was democracy. As if I didn't have a right to say no. In that moment, I understood. They actually believed it. They believed I existed to ease their burden, that not having children meant I had to pay a tax to those who did, that my life, my peace, my time, my finances were optional next to theirs. And when I stood up, when I said they were going to love what came next, they didn't even flinch. Fernando laughed because, in his eyes, I was bluffing. I always had. I barely slept that night. Not from guilt. I hadn't gotten there yet, but I wasn't far off. I was wide awake, lying in bed, replaying every slight, every unspoken expectation, every time they made me feel lesser for not having what they had. Kids, debt, chaos. Somehow, that made them superior, noble, and me, expendable. But as the sun rose and stained my ceiling pale orange, I felt something shift. The hesitation drained out of me like poison, and what replaced it wasn't just anger, it was clarity. They wanted to treat this like a democracy? Fine. Let's talk democracy. I opened my laptop and typed, subject, family contribution changes body. Effective immediately, I am withdrawing from all financial support related to extended family. This includes Christmas gifts, birthday gifts, both minor and adult, school tuition contributions, bridge loans, emergency transfers, bailouts for unexpected vet bills, car repairs, or Disney Plus subscriptions. No more. If you have already spent money using my cards, expect a forced return. If you have stored my information or shared it without my consent, expect legal contact. You voted. I vote too. Merry Christmas. The one without kids, and then I hit send. To everyone. Every single name in that group chat. To Fernando and Rosa, to Valeria, to the 6 cousins, to my aunt who still thinks I owe her something for babysitting me one afternoon when I was 4. And then I turned off my phone. It took them exactly 7 hours and 16 minutes to collapse. When I turned my phone back on, it exploded like a grenade in my hand. 53 missed calls. Dozens of texts. Voicemails of relatives crying. Cousins threatening to sue me for emotional damage. A text from Rosa that started with, "I am devastated," and ended with, "This is beyond disappointing." And Fernando, he called 12 times. His last voicemail was a single sentence. "Please, for the love of God, don't do this." But it was done. Because by the time they understood what chargeback meant, I'd already spoken to the bank. The fraud claim had been approved. Over 3,600 euros in unauthorized charges were now frozen. Barbie dream houses and Nerf guns on hold. Christmas iPads and AirPods returned. And the cherry on top? I froze the emergency card. So when Camila, my cousin, tried to use it to book a room at the Mirador del Sur Hotel that very night, declined. Twice. The explosion was nuclear. The next day I got a call from my uncle, one of the few who never asked me for money, but also didn't say anything while everyone else did. His voice was low, thick with shame. "Your mother's crying. Says you ruined Christmas." I didn't flinch. I didn't say they ruined it when they turned it into a transaction. They were just stressed. "No," I interrupted. "They were entitled. There's a big difference." He was silent. Then he said, "Are you really going through with returning everything?" "Already did." He sighed. "Well, I can't say they didn't deserve it." And he hung up. That was the last civil message I received for days. The real showdown came 3 days later. I got back from work and found them waiting for me on my porch. Rosa, Fernando, and Valeria, my sister, arms crossed, wearing expressions like they were chewing on poison. "Can we talk?" Rosa asked, her voice already shaky. I opened the door. "Say what you came to say." "We didn't want it to go like this," she said quickly. "We just thought that I would shut up and pay again. That I would smile and say, sure, drain my account, but let's do it with Christmas punch." Fernando tried to intervene. "Son, let's not make this a war. We're family." I laughed hard. "You declared war the moment you used my card without permission and called it a vote. That didn't feel like family. It felt like betrayal." Valeria rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. You're still on about this? You're acting like we emptied your entire life savings." "I paid for your car last summer," I yelled. "Because you said you couldn't get to work with a cracked windshield. You said you'd pay me back." She scoffed. "You make over 100,000 euros a year. You'll survive." "And that's exactly my point," I said, taking a step closer. "That's why this ends here. You all treat me like I'm just a wallet that shows up occasionally with a casserole." Rosa's eyes filled with tears. "We just wanted the kids to have a good Christmas." "Stealing from me." Fernando stepped forward. "Enough. This has gone too far. You have to fix this. Cancel the chargebacks. Now." I stared at him and said nothing. Then he tried another approach. "Think about how this looks," he said, his tone dark. "What are you going to tell people?" "What? That I betrayed my family over a few toys?" I didn't even blink. I didn't answer. "I want them to say I finally had the guts to stand up for myself." And then I said the sentence that made Rosa gasp, made Valeria shout, and made Fernando go completely white. "I'm done with all of you. I've already blocked your numbers, and this weekend I'm moving to another state." The silence was glorious. I opened my front door. "Now off my porch." The first 48 hours after that confrontation were utterly silent, and honestly, it was beautiful. No calls, no passive-aggressive texts, no guilt bombs disguised as "how are yous?" For the first time in years, I could breathe. I sat on my floor with a cup of coffee and a Listen Already playlist, realizing I wasn't carrying anyone else's weight. No one expected me to pay a bill, fix a mess, or save the day. It was peace. But I knew my family. They don't let go easily when they lose their favorite donor. By day 3, they started creeping back in the only language they knew: manipulation. Just checking in. Hope we can talk like adults. Your mother is sick with stress. Are you happy now? The kids are asking why Uncle Ghost doesn't call anymore. I saw the messages. I didn't respond because I knew none of them missed me. They missed what I gave them. But then came something I wasn't expecting. A text from my cousin Enrique. I messed up. Can we talk? I didn't reply. An hour later, Enrique was at my door, and he looked different. Not the usual half-asleep Enrique in a hoodie with that sarcasm-drenched attitude. He was put together. Hair combed, blazer, even wearing a watch. He looked like he was playing the part of the functional brother. I enrolled in some online courses, he said. Marketing. I started working with a friend. I'm trying to get my act together. For real this time. I stayed silent. I was jealous of you, he added after a long pause. That's why I acted the way I did. You had your life together, no chaos, no kids, no constant noise, and I hated that. I tilted my head. You're here for money. No, he said quickly. I'm here to tell you I'm not going to be your shadow anymore. For a moment, I almost believed him. He left. 30 minutes later, I got a bank alert. Someone was trying to reset access to my online account. Guess who? Enrique hadn't changed. He was performing. He didn't come to apologize. He came to check if I still believed in his tears. I blocked all passwords. Froze the backup card again. Notified the bank again. That was the last time anyone from my family came close to my life. And then came freedom. I broke my lease. Accepted a job in another state. Better pay. New apartment. Not a single relative within 400 miles. But the best part wasn't the job or the fresh start. It was a text from Laura, Enrique's wife. He's gone. We're getting divorced. I wanted you to know. And thank you. You were the only one who actually helped, ever. That one hit me harder than I expected. She knew. All this time, she knew what was happening, but she'd stayed silent until now. And suddenly I understood something. Maybe my decision wasn't just for me. Maybe choosing myself gave someone else the courage to do the same. Before I left town, I sent one final message to the family group chat. I renamed the chat. This bank has permanently closed. Try actual love. Then I hit leave group. As I drove away, the car packed to the roof with boxes, music blasting through the open windows, I smiled. I was alone, but for the first time, it wasn't a punishment. It was freedom. It's funny how quiet the world gets when you remove the people who never really listened to you in the first place. After moving to another state, changing my number, and blocking them all, the silence wasn't loneliness, it was peace. A raw, intense, glorious peace. No more texts saying, "Can you cover my rent this month?" No more emotional blackmail disguised as concern. No more seeing my phone light up with names that only appeared when there was a bill due. They were gone. And not just gone, severed. Completely. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't financially tethered to anyone's survival, and for the first time, I was surviving on my own terms. I found a new apartment. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. My rules. My budget. My fridge filled with only what I liked. The first night I slept there, I left my phone on Do Not Disturb, not because I expected a call, but because I finally knew there wouldn't be one. And let me tell you something. There's a kind of healing that only happens in the silence, in not having to explain yourself, in not having to defend your own boundaries, in not constantly wondering, am I being too harsh? No, you're not being harsh. You're being free. Of course they tried. New numbers. Voicemails from blocked contacts. Even a fake Instagram account that messaged me, "Come home. We're family. Enough is enough." I laughed. Enough is enough. That's what I said when you voted to rob me and laughed in my face. That's what I said when Fernando told me I should be doing more just because I didn't have kids. That's what I said when Alvaro, after everything, tried to hack my bank account. But now it's different. Now, enough isn't a plea. It's a boundary. And you know what? It's a boundary they will never cross again. I started therapy. Told my therapist everything. She didn't blink. She just nodded and said, "They taught you that love had to be earned through sacrifice." That phrase stuck with me because it was true. They made me feel like if I didn't give, I wasn't worthy, that if I didn't pay, I wasn't part of the group, that if I didn't sacrifice something, money, time, peace, they wouldn't even pretend to love me. That's not what family does. That was control, not care. And I escaped it. Now people ask, do you regret cutting them off? Not for a second. What I regret is not doing it sooner. I regret every birthday party I funded that I wasn't even invited to. I regret every time I canceled plans to drive across town because someone hadn't turned off their oven. I regret being the only one who remembered all the cousins' kids' birthdays while they forgot mine year after year. I regret letting them convince me that I was the selfish one. And now I don't even flinch at the thought of them. They made their choice when they decided I was useful, not loved. They voted. And now I voted. Unanimously. Severed. But here's the twist they never saw coming. I am better than I have ever been since I stopped being their emotional and financial prisoner. I got promoted. Started traveling. I'm dating someone who doesn't ask anything of me but presence and honesty. I'm picking up hobbies I dropped to chase their approval. I got into photography. I'm learning to cook. Actual food. Not just midnight takeout in front of my computer while I paid someone else's rent. I adopted a dog. Named her Balance. She's calm, loyal, and doesn't expect anything from me but love. Which, honestly, is more than I can say for most of my blood relatives. And just when I thought the story was over, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. It just said, "He's gone. We're getting divorced. Wanted you to know." It was Laura, Enrique's now ex-wife. She finally left him. Apparently, my brother's little transformation had an expiration date. She told me later he spiraled. Lost the job. Drank. Spent what was left of their savings. And she found out he was still trying to use my old bank information even after being caught. "You were the only one who saw it from the beginning," she said. I didn't believe you then. I do now. And that's when it really hit me. This wasn't just about cutting ties. It was about refusing to carry their lie. Sometimes, when you walk away, you don't just save yourself. You light the way for someone else to see the truth. I didn't lose a family. I freed myself from a scam. So when people ask me, "What happened with your family?" I smile and say, I used to be the one who paid for Christmas. Now, I'm the one who got saved from it. And I wouldn't trade that freedom for anything in the world.